Did you know that at least one person you encounter per day is battling either a mental health or a drug problem? Today, I'm going to be talking about how these two topics correlate with each other and how this argument on this topic is long overdue for discussion. In today's world, the issues of mental health and drug abuse have become a large topic of discussion, whether it be the news covering drug busts, suicides, or overdoses. It's something more common. It's something more common you're hearing in the news and media today. Similarly, drug abuse and mental illness can arise and respond from each other. First, I'm going to be talking about mental health. Mental health issues have become a larger and larger topic of concern, being associated with either mass shootings that you've heard about in schools, suicide, and even drug abuse. Each generation has talked about this issue and dealt with it in their own way. The older generation would consider mental health something that you would deal with yourself. It was not discussed. It was typically shown as someone having depression or anxiety as just being down or bored. Without having these discussions, the awareness and education on mental health is something that just wouldn't happen. I think the first thing to combat this issue is definitely awareness, and having knowledge on it is something that will help people start to feel more comfortable and have those talks about it. So, as I said, each generation dealt with it themselves. The more and more it's been talked about, and recently it's been more common. People are starting to realize that it is an issue and it needs to be treated. These illnesses are something that need to be taken seriously, because if they go unnoticed or is treated as unimportant, serious consequences can occur. Opening up about mental illness isn't always an easy thing to do. Not everyone has a support system, a friend that they can go to, or a family who will listen. Many people who suffer from depression or anxiety, like I said, suffer alone. Most of the time, it's in their head, internally and silently. And when dealing with mental illness alone, in your head, you can begin to have many different outlets, which really correlate with drug abuse or other addictions. For example, some choose to go shopping as an outlet. Buying something may give them a brief distraction from what they're feeling in their head. Some other people may choose to exercise, get their mind off of that, run out their problems, lift out their problems and their struggles. There are many different outlets, and sadly, like I said, some are drug abuse. There are many different people who have suffered from either mental illness or drug abuse or both. A person who suffers with that type of illness is prone to getting a cold shoulder or even look past. Tackling that head on is most commonly just disregarded because of the confrontation or that awkward interaction. Just like a physical illness, mental health projects limitations. The inability to control your thoughts, even your actions, such as not being able to get out of bed, shower, or eat. Mental health quite literally becomes a physical illness. Many people just don't understand about mental health issues, but that doesn't mean this isn't an issue, just like drug abuse. Many people, like I said, are just unaware or uneducated about the topic, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Such as drug abuse, people will believe that it's the person's decision, whether they're just feeling sorry for themselves, whether they put themselves in a situation that made them sad. But it is actually a chemical imbalance in your head. Sometimes medication can help, or different types of treatment. But listening, talking, and describing how you're feeling is definitely such an important aspect of combating mental health issues. Growing up, I was never aware of drugs or mental health issues. I didn't really become aware of these things until I was in middle school, which tells you I still didn't know that much. The older I got and the more I started to understand some more of the issues about drug abuse and mental health, the more I became adaptive to listening, learning, and talking. Mental health or drug abuse will not and is not going to go away overnight. A common phrase that I hear a lot when the topic of drug abuse comes up is, it's not an addiction if they started it themselves. Which is easy for someone who's never had that to say, such as me. Like, I can sympathize with them, but I cannot put myself in their shoes and truly understand what they're going through. Such as people without mental illness, you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes and expect to fully understand how they're feeling. So education and awareness, like I've been saying, is an issue, which is awareness and issues just leaves people in better hands to combat these problems rather than just being misconstrued and just not understanding them. Categorizing people who abuse drugs with being bad people is just like any other stereotype, a not or fair representation of that person. Such as people who suffer from mental illness. You can't categorize people who are mentally ill with being sad, being mad, some of the people who are suffering, like I said, suffer silently and may be the happiest people you know, but behind closed doors, they are truly hurting. So now I'm going to be talking about the drug abuse side of this. And it can stem from many different circumstances, whether it be your geographical location, family demographics, income, how accessible it is, or pressure from friends and even family. The issue of lack of awareness and education is such an important thing. That's why I keep saying that. And it just lies in the hands of you and even medical field employees. I was talking with my friend who is a registered nurse in Lansing who deals with a lot of addicts and people who are overdosing or people who have schizophrenia, which is a mental illness, that come into the ER. And just because people just don't understand, it's just a learning tool, and it's something that definitely needs to be addressed. She had said that there aren't many protocols or procedures that limit you to what you're supposed to do, and oftentimes they're just being unknowingly dismissed because it's such an issue and they're not really coming to terms with it themselves. So implementing awareness and education would just streamline and effect to combat these issues. So today we talked about the issues with drug abuse and mental health, and how education, awareness, and just talking about the subjects are some of the most important factors that can combat these issues. Thank you.